evil people to fear you. Then fear God more than you fear them. Value truth more than you value comfort. Stand for righteousness even if it costs you everything. Show them you cannot be bought with their flattery or broken by their threats. Let them see you stand when others bow, speak when others stay silent, and remain pure when others compromise. Here is the hidden key. Evil does not truly fear the sword in your hand. It fears the sword in your spirit, the sword of truth that cuts through their deception. And truth only holds that sharp edge when it is forged in the presence of God. When you live in this way, you will not need to chase revenge, for God Himself will be your defender. You will not need to stoop to their level, for God will raise you beyond their reach. You will not need to shout, because your life will speak louder than any accusation they throw at you. Remember this, a lion does not roar to convince a wolf of its power. It simply stands in its nature, and that alone is enough. In the same way, when you remain in God's presence, you do not have to prove yourself to evil people. They will sense it, they will recognize it, and they will respect it even if they never confess it. This is why the most powerful thing you can do to disarm evil is to keep your peace when they try to take it, to keep your integrity when they try to corrupt it, and to keep your faith when they try to shake it. That quiet strength, that unshakable spirit becomes a wall they cannot climb. Evil survives on reaction. It needs you to fight in a way it understands. But when you refuse to play by its rules, when you respond with wisdom, when you allow God to handle what your flesh wants to control, they begin to see they are not the ones commanding the battlefield. Do not be misled. This is not about pretending you are without fear. It is about where you place your fear. If all your fear is anchored in God, there will be none left for them. And when there is no fear left for them, they will begin to fear you not because of any strength you possess in yourself, but because they will recognize the one who fights on your behalf. And when they recognize Him, they know their plans are already defeated before they even begin. Let me tell you, when the power of God rests on a person, there is an unseen fire that surrounds them. Evil people may not be able to put it into words, but they can feel it. They sense that your life is far from ordinary, that your steps are guided with intention, and that your confidence is not born from arrogance, but from divine protection. This awareness unsettles them, for evil operates most effectively against those without spiritual covering. But when they realize that you live under God's constant watch, they know that to touch you is like reaching into a flame. They will be burned. This is why you must protect your connection with God above everything else. The enemy's most dangerous tactic is not always a direct attack. Often it is to distract you, to lure you into petty battles, to drain your strength with bitterness and offense. The moment your focus shifts from God, the covering begins to weaken, and that is when evil grows bold. However, if you remain unwavering, if you keep your gaze fixed on God through every storm, their confidence begins to fall apart. They realize nothing they say can derail your purpose, and nothing they do can move your foundation. That stability terrifies them, for their power thrives on shaking people from their position. Do not underestimate the strength of a calm spirit that refuses to be provoked. Evil expects resistance in the form of shouting, retaliation, or emotional breakdown. These they can navigate. But they are left baffled when you respond with steady composure, when you smile in the face of their hostility, when you refuse to allow them to control the atmosphere around you. This kind of self-control is not weakness, it is power born from surrender to God. It is the signature of someone who trusts that God will fight on their behalf, someone who believes wholeheartedly that no weapon formed against them will prosper. Understand this: evil will always push at your limits, searching for the place where you will break. But if they find your boundaries are built not on human strength but on unshakable divine truth, they will think twice before crossing them. Evil may despise your convictions, yet they cannot ignore the fact that you stand by them without compromise. They see that you cannot be swayed by charm, intimidated by threats, or seduced by flattery, and that realization erodes their confidence. There is a certain authority that rests on the person who spends sincere time in God's presence. You do not need to announce it. It becomes evident in your words, your walk, and the way you face adversity. Your peace becomes unsettling to those who dwell in chaos. Your integrity offends those who thrive in deception. And your discipline becomes a mirror reflecting their own lack of it. You do not need to confront their wrongdoing head on. Your very life becomes a living testimony that there is a higher way to walk, and that silent witness unsettles them deeply. When you know that God is with you, you begin to rise above the reach of fear. And once you live beyond fear's grasp, evil people lose all control over you. They cannot bait you into desperation. They cannot tempt you into moral compromise. They cannot shatter you through rejection. You walk as though every step has already been written by God's own hand, and in truth it has. That kind of walk is dangerous to those who plot against you, because it means their battle is not truly with you. It is with the plan of God, and no one ever wins that battle. Understand this: making evil people fear you is never about arrogance or revenge. It is about becoming untouchable in your spirit. It is about reaching a place where their approval or disapproval holds no weight, because you already have the approval of God. This level of inner strength is not born overnight. It is forged in moments of testing, in long nights of prayer, and in daily choices where you pick truth over comfort, obedience over ease. Each time you choose God, your spiritual armor thickens, and evil takes notice. Evil people are not always loud or obvious. Sometimes they wear friendly smiles, speak with gentle words, and pretend to stand by your side. But beneath the surface, their hearts are set on pulling you away from your purpose. They will never say it outright, yet when they see you walking closely with God, they feel the sting of separation. They know they cannot entangle you in their schemes. That realization alone is a quiet defeat for them. Your very presence becomes a reminder that their control has limits, and those limits are set by the Almighty. The truth is this: the fear you place in evil is not fear of you as a person, but fear of the God who stands beside you. This is why your highest priority must be to remain in His presence. Do not allow yourself to be dragged into petty battles. Do not waste strength trying to prove yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. Keep your focus on God, and let your life be so aligned with His will that anyone plotting against you will realize they are stepping into a fight they cannot win. Evil loses its boldness when it finds no open door in your life. That is why the first battleground is not in what you say to them, but in what you allow into your own heart. Guard your heart with determination, for from it flows the course of your life. If your heart is consumed by bitterness, pride, or vengeance, you have already given evil a foothold. But when your heart is filled with reverence for God, clothed in humility before His power, and driven by a deep hunger for His guidance, you become unshakable and impenetrable. Evil people will search relentlessly for a weakness in your armor, yet they will find none, because your strength does not come from yourself. It flows from the Almighty, who has sealed you under His divine protection. When you walk closely with God, you begin to carry an authority that cannot be learned in any classroom of this world. It is an authority birthed through obedience, shaped by long hours of prayer, and strengthened through daily surrender to His will. This is why some cannot comprehend how you endure storms without collapsing. They do not understand how you keep moving forward when so many doors shut in your face. It is because your trust is not in the door itself, it is in the one who holds the keys to every door. That unwavering trust unsettles those who wish you harm, because they cannot manipulate someone who has already placed their entire future in God's hands. One of the greatest weapons you hold against evil is consistency. Evil feeds on chaos, on catching you unprepared, on forcing you into rash decisions. But when your life is anchored in steady discipline, praying at the same time, reading the Word faithfully, keeping your focus despite distractions, you become untouchable in ways they cannot explain. They may try to provoke you, but you remain unshaken. They may attempt to pull you into gossip, but your lips stay pure. They may tempt you with shortcuts, yet you choose the longer path, knowing it leads to God's blessing. Such consistency baffles them, for it proves you are not driven by impulse, but by divine direction. Never think you must always speak to prove your strength. Sometimes the most powerful declaration of trust in God is your silence. Evil people will lay verbal traps, hoping you will react with emotion and ruin your own credibility. But when you respond with calm wisdom, when you refuse to be baited into pointless arguments, you strip them of their influence. They might mock your restraint, but deep inside they know you are stronger than they are. True strength is not found in shouting, it is found in mastering your spirit. And the one who has mastered their spirit under God's guidance is beyond the reach of evil's control. You must also know that not all fear is harmful. There is a holy fear that belongs to God alone. When you walk with that holy fear, it removes any fear of man. When evil people see that you do not tremble at their threats because you stand in awe of a greater power, something shifts within them. They know they cannot compete with the one directing your steps. They may still speak against you, but their own words lose weight, because deep down they realize they are wasting their breath against someone shielded by the Creator Himself. Evil's power is nothing more than an illusion of strength, of control, and of permanence. But when you live with a constant awareness that God is the true source of your strength, control, and destiny, those illusions crumble to pieces. You begin to see past their games, and your discernment becomes yet another thing they fear. They cannot manipulate you as they do others, because you can see the reality hidden behind the mask. You can look into a smiling face and detect the concealed dagger. You can hear flattering words and sense the snare lying underneath them. That God-given ability to see beyond the surface places you far out of their reach. Evil people fear being exposed. They thrive in the shadows, surviving on deception. But when the light of God radiates from within you, it unmasks them effortlessly, without you needing to force it. They become uneasy in your presence, sometimes even hostile, not because you have attacked them, but because you embody the truth they are desperate to hide from. And truth is dangerous to evil, for it strips away the false power they hold over others. So how do you make evil fear you? You do not chase them. You do not waste your energy fighting them by their rules. Instead, you rise above. You stay pure in a corrupted world. You remain steady when everything around you is shaking. You hold your integrity when others sell theirs for momentary gain. You bring the peace of God into spaces filled with turmoil, and you refuse to let that turmoil invade your spirit. The more you live this way, the more evil will speak your name with caution, knowing that to touch you is to provoke the hand of God Himself. And make no mistake, when God is for you, no power, no plot, and no alliance of enemies can stand. They may join forces against you, but their unity will collapse. They may dig a pit for you, but they will fall into it themselves. They may speak curses over your life, but God will turn every curse into a blessing. When this happens over and over, when they witness every scheme ending in their own downfall, fear will settle deep within them. Not fear of you as a mere person, but fear of the Almighty who stands at your side. Evil will always try to make you believe it holds more power than it does. It will clothe itself in intimidation, loud threats, and impressive numbers. Yet what it truly fears is not your outward reaction, but your refusal to be moved. The moment you decide in your heart that your trust in God cannot be shaken, the hold of fear they have on you begins to vanish. They lose the ability to control your emotions. They lose the influence to sway your decisions. They lose the power to rob your peace. That kind of inner liberty terrifies them, because it means they have lost the very leverage they depend on your submission to their pressure. The truth is, evil cannot prevail against someone who is not desperate for what it offers. When you live knowing that God alone is your provider, you are no longer manipulated by bribes, opportunities, or rewards dangled to buy your loyalty. They cannot purchase your loyalty because it has already been secured by God's unwavering faithfulness. They cannot threaten to take something from you because you understand that nothing they give or remove has the power to shape your destiny. When you live with this kind of spiritual independence, you possess a strength they cannot reach, and it is that very strength that makes them fear you. You must also understand that evil people often thrive on attention. They crave the knowledge that you are watching them, reacting to them, and giving them a place in your thoughts. But the moment you withdraw that attention, when you lift your eyes higher and fix them firmly on God, they begin to lose their significance. It is not that they vanish, it is that their influence over you withers away. Choosing to ignore them is not weakness, it is a form of warfare. It is the intentional strategy of starving their influence until they realize they cannot survive in your presence without being exposed. Yet, this kind of strength is never accidental. It is developed through consistent discipline in the presence of God. You cannot suddenly wake up one morning expecting to intimidate evil without first being refined in the secret place. The roots of your courage must be planted deep in trust. The branches of your patience must grow strong through hardship. The fruit of your faith must be matured in seasons when you have no one but God to depend on. Only then will your life carry the kind of weight that makes evil take notice. Evil people also fear those who know their true identity in God. They prey on insecurity, on those who rely on others for validation. But when you know who you are in God's sight, you no longer need their approval to feel worthy. They can hurl insults, and you will not be shaken. They can attempt to shame you, and it will not take root. Your worth is not determined by their words. This frustrates them because it robs them of the power to control how you see yourself. Such confidence, built on God's truth, becomes a fortress they cannot breach. Sometimes the fear you inspire in them has nothing to do with what you have already done, but with what they suspect you could do under God's direction. They sense that you are not walking alone, that there is a wisdom guiding you which they cannot touch. You will make decisions they cannot predict, take paths they cannot follow, and survive attacks they believed would destroy you. This unpredictability unsettles them, and fear begins to take root because they cannot control or anticipate someone led by the Almighty. And here is another truth. They may never admit it openly, but deep down, evil people respect the kind of strength they cannot break. Even in their hostility, they are forced to acknowledge that there is something different about you. They might mask it with ridicule, but in their private moments, they wonder why you have not fallen. They replay every time they tried to ensnare you and failed. They recall the storms you endured without losing your footing. And with each memory, a seed of hesitation takes root in their minds. That hesitation is the first step toward fear. Evil also fears being exposed through your blessings. When God elevates you in full view of those who conspired against you, it becomes a public witness that their power is limited. Every advancement you receive, Every breakthrough you experience and every victory you win in their presence is like an open declaration that their schemes have failed. The more this pattern repeats, the more they realize that opposing you is not only foolish, it is dangerous because the hand of God is unmistakably working for you. You must hold this truth firmly. You make evil fear you not by raising your voice, but by becoming unshakable in the unseen. Not by fighting as the world fights, but by standing in the authority of God's truth. You wage your battles on your knees long before facing them directly. You allow God to be your shield, your protector, and your vindicator. When you live this way, there comes a time when evil people hesitate before even speaking your name, not because you have threatened them, but because they have witnessed what happens to those who tried. The path is far from easy. It demands sacrifice. It calls for walking away from opportunities that would compromise your values. It requires patience when you are falsely accused, endurance when you are targeted, and faith when you are surrounded. But with every moment you choose God over convenience, every time you stand your ground instead of bowing under pressure, every time you keep your peace instead of striking back, your strength grows and evil's grip weakens. The weaker it becomes, the more it dreads the day it can no longer touch you at all. The most threatening person in the eyes of evil is not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one whose spirit is unshakable because it is anchored in God. That is why your greatest weapon is not always found in outward action, but in the inward life you cultivate. Evil people can mimic power, they can mimic kindness, they can mimic righteousness, but they cannot replicate the purity of a heart that walks closely with God. That purity carries an invisible authority that unsettles them. They cannot taint it, they cannot duplicate it, and they cannot remain near it without feeling exposed. When you live with a deep, constant awareness of God's presence, every step you take carries a weight far beyond your own. You no longer enter a room wondering who accepts or rejects you. You walk in knowing God has already gone ahead of you. That assurance transforms the way you carry yourself. Your head is lifted not in arrogance, but in calm confidence. Your eyes remain steady, not seeking approval, but fixed on the one who holds your future. And when evil people see that confidence, they sense the shift. They know you are not dependent on them for anything. That independence unnerves them because control has always been their favorite weapon. Evil loses its hold over those who refuse to be ruled by fear. This is why the fear of God carries such immense power. It replaces every lesser fear. When you genuinely stand in awe of God's greatness, when you truly grasp His authority over every detail of your life, the threats of people begin to lose their sting. They may raise their voices. They may scheme in secret. They may gather in great numbers against you. Yet your heart will remain steady, and that steadiness will puzzle them because they expect their intimidation to succeed. They expect you to bow. They expect you to crumble. But when you remain unmoved, they are forced to remember they are not opposing someone powerless. They are contending with someone backed by the Almighty. One way to instill fear in the heart of evil is to walk in truth without wavering. Evil survives on lies, but when you both speak and live in truth, you become a mirror reflecting their true nature. You may never openly accuse them, yet your integrity will silently testify against them. They will feel it every time they attempt to pull you into deceit and you refuse. They will notice it when they twist situations and you remain steadfast. They will see it when you continue to prosper without lowering your standards. This silent rebuke is often more cutting than any verbal argument. It is living proof that success is possible without surrendering to their corruption. Never underestimate the strength of patience. Evil people want you to react hastily, for quick actions are often careless ones. But when you wait for God's timing, when you refuse to be driven by pressure, you gain an advantage they cannot understand. They will wonder why their traps fail, why their false urgency cannot move you, why their chaos has no effect. That patience is not weakness. It is a bold declaration that you trust God to manage what you cannot yet see. And when they realize they cannot hurry you into destruction, they begin to fear the discipline that shields you. Remember this, your battles are not always about defeating evil instantly. Sometimes they are about enduring until evil exhausts itself. Evil people act from impulse and selfish ambition. They become restless when their schemes drag on. If you stand firm and refuse to be worn down, you will watch them tire themselves out trying to reach you. Your endurance will fuel their frustration, and their frustration will lead to their collapse. In time, their impatience will expose their true nature, and when that happens, God will uncover them without you needing to act. There is also a deep fear that comes from the visible favor of God over your life when doors open that should have remained shut, when opportunities appear that defy explanation, when blessings continue to flow despite every attempt to block them. They may try to dismiss it as luck, coincidence, or chance, but deep within they know it is the unmistakable work of God's hand. Deep within they understand that the same God who is raising you up has the power to bring them low. That quiet awareness keeps them cautious, even if their lips never confess it. You must remember that your purpose is not to make evil people fear you for personal satisfaction. This is not about pride or self-glory. It is about walking so closely with God that your very life becomes a living testimony of His greatness. When your strength, your peace, and your victories all point back to Him, you not only safeguard yourself, but also draw others toward His light. Even some who once opposed you may begin to rethink their path when they realize that nothing they did could hinder what God ordained for you. Evil people expect you to fight them using their weapons, anger, deceit, and manipulation. But when you respond with righteousness, patience, wisdom, and unshakable faith, you take them into a realm they do not know how to navigate. They cannot figure out how to overcome someone who refuses to engage on their terms. In that unfamiliar ground lies their fear. So hold your ground, protect your heart, keep your gaze fixed on God, and understand that the fear you inspire does not come from threats or intimidation, but from the undeniable truth that you are guided, shielded, and sustained by the one who can never be defeated. When they see this, they realize that no matter how they conspire, no matter how they unite, no matter how they speak against you, they are waging war against a force infinitely greater than you. And in that battle, they are destined to lose. When you fully grasp the deep reality that your life rests under the sovereign watch of God, fear dissolves and boldness begins to rise within you like a steady, unstoppable river. This boldness is not loud or reckless. It is a calm, steady power that comes from knowing you are held by the Creator of heaven and earth. Evil trembles before such a spirit because it knows that no scheme can pierce the armor crafted by God's own hands. You do not walk alone. You walk with the Eternal One, the Almighty, the Master who commands the wind and the sea. His presence transforms you into a fortress they dare not approach. To make evil fear you, your life must be saturated with unwavering faith and steadfast obedience. The battles you face are not only physical or emotional, they are spiritual confrontations where the unseen hand of God determines the outcome. Each time you choose God's will over your own, you tighten the chains that limit evil's reach in your life. Each moment you resist temptation and stand firm in righteousness, you build a testimony that reverberates in the realm of darkness, warning that you are not an easy target. And never forget the power of prayer, not as an empty ritual, but as the vital connection to the divine source of all strength. Prayer is the battleground where God defeats your enemies before they even have a chance to rise against you. When you pray with a genuine heart, strong faith, and an expectation of divine intervention, you open the door for God's power to overshadow every scheme conceived in darkness. Evil despises prayer because it exposes their hidden agendas and calls down God's judgment upon them. Pray not as a desperate last option, but as your first line of defense, your shield, your sword, and your anchor in this spiritual war. Understand that the fear evil feels toward you often reflects the respect they have for your unwavering integrity. Integrity is a silent but unshakable statement that you will not bow to lies, corruption, or deceit. It reveals that your character is molded by the fear of God, not by the fear of people. Such integrity is rare in a world overflowing with compromise, and it unsettles those who thrive in dishonesty. When your word holds value and your actions consistently match your promises, you become a shining light that evil cannot dim, and never overlook the power of God's timing. Evil grows restless, eager to see you fail before the appointed time of your blessing. But God's timing is flawless, and His plans are unshakable. There is great strength in waiting and trusting that He is working all things for your good, even when you cannot yet see the results. This kind of trust frustrates evil because it means you will not be rushed into mistakes, and your victory will be complete and undeniable. The fear in evil's heart grows when they see you carry the spirit of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is freedom. It declares that you will not be bound by bitterness or vengeance. When you forgive, you dismantle their control over your emotions and your future. You show that no offense can imprison you in pain, and that liberty threatens their kingdom of darkness. They know that no matter their attacks, you will rise again, because your hope is anchored in God alone. Evil also trembles before those who serve God in humility. Pride opens the door to destruction, but humility invites God's power to rest upon you. A humble spirit does not seek to dominate or manipulate, yet it carries a quiet strength born from knowing its place before the Almighty. This humility draws God's favor and causes your enemies to think twice before moving against you. As you continue in this way, remember that your life is both a battlefield and a testimony. Every victory you gain and every obstacle you conquer sends a clear message to the kingdom of darkness that the light of God cannot be extinguished. You do not need to prove yourself through anger or retaliation. Your steadfast faith and daily obedience speak louder than any words, proclaiming the reality of a God who fights for you, a God whose love shields you, and a God whose power makes the enemy tremble, causing evil itself to fear you. Let your life radiate the glory of God. Let every decision be directed by His wisdom, and let your heart remain a sanctuary of peace, even in the midst of the fiercest storms. Stand immovable, knowing that the same God who spoke the universe into existence is both your refuge and your strength. When evil sees that you are deeply rooted in this unshakable truth, it will begin to fear you not because of your own strength, but because of the one who stands beside you. There is a power far beyond human comprehension, the power of a heart fully surrendered to God. This is the force that makes evil retreat in fear. Not because you raise a weapon or shout in defiance, but because your life bears the unmistakable imprint of the Almighty's hand. Evil may be cunning and ruthless, but it cannot prevail against one clothed in the righteousness that God alone can give. They might scoff at your faith or ridicule your discipline, yet deep within they know they face a power they cannot overcome. Understand that your thoughts are a battlefield. Evil seeks to infiltrate your mind with fear, doubt, and confusion. But when you fill your mind with God's promises and meditate on His unchanging truth day and night, you construct walls no enemy can penetrate. As the light of God's Word fills your heart, fear begins to dissolve and the enemy's lies lose their hold. Your mind becomes a stronghold of peace, a sanctuary guarded by the Spirit of God, where no fear can remain. Strength in God is also revealed in how you respond to injustice. Evil takes pleasure when its targets react with rage, bitterness, or retaliation. But when you choose wisdom over impulse, patience over vengeance, and trust God to be your defender, you step into a higher place of spiritual authority that silences your foes. This is not weakness, it is divine strategy. It is the way of those who know that God's justice surpasses all human striving, and that those who wait upon Him will never be abandoned. Another unshakable truth is that evil fears the testimony of your life. Each time you endure trials without surrendering your faith, each time you choose integrity over compromise, you become living proof that God's power is active and real. Your life becomes a light in the darkness, a beacon that calls others out of bondage and unmasks the enemy's lies. And because evil survives in shadows and deception, it dreads this exposure. To strengthen this fear in the hearts of the wicked, learn to walk in gratitude. Gratitude is a mighty weapon that strips despair and bitterness of their power. It turns your attention away from what the enemy has taken or threatened toward what God has already blessed you with and promised. When you live with a grateful heart, you carry a peace and contentment that evil cannot comprehend and will never be able to conquer. They may try to stir turmoil within you, yet your heart stays anchored in gratitude, and that steadfast joy unsettles them. Evil also trembles before a person of prayer, because prayer unlocks the gates of heaven and ushers in the presence of God into the battle. When you pray with passion and persistence, you call down protection, wisdom, and victory. Your prayers are not mere quiet hopes. They are bold spiritual declarations that God's will shall be fulfilled in your life. This connection with the Almighty strengthens you beyond imagination and forces the enemy to rethink every scheme they have formed against you. Moreover, humility before God is a source of strength that the enemy dreads. True humility is not weakness. It is the acknowledgement that your power flows from God alone. It keeps you grounded and open to divine instruction. A humble heart cannot be manipulated by evil because it rests under the shelter of God's wisdom rather than leaning on human understanding. This reliance produces peace and confidence that unsettles darkness, which thrives on pride and self-sufficiency. Living in a way that honors God in every word, every deed, and every thought creates a holy atmosphere that evil cannot endure. This sacred covering surrounds you like an unseen fortress, powerful in the spiritual realm. The closer you walk with God, the more obvious it becomes to those who oppose you, and the deeper their fear grows. Remember, the fear you inspire in evil is not about terror or malice. It is the awareness that their efforts crumble before the power of God working through you. It is the fear of defeat, of exposure, and of inevitable judgment. When evil sees that you remain unmoved by their intimidation, untouched by their lies, and undistracted by their traps, they know they are facing a power beyond anything human. Live in this truth daily. Let your life reflect God's power and protection. Stand firm in faith. Pursue righteousness with determination, and cultivate a spirit that is steadfast and pure. In doing so, evil will fear you not because of your own strength, but because of the God who fights for you and drives your enemies away. As we bring this message to a close, hold this truth in your heart. The fear of evil does not come from your voice, your will, or your strength. It flows from a life completely surrendered to God, wrapped in His power, and anchored in His unshakable truth. When you walk in the holy and reverent fear of the Lord, you become untouchable in ways the world cannot explain. You are no longer vulnerable to the traps of darkness, but instead a fortress of light that no shadow can overcome. Never forget God is your defender, your shield, and your refuge in every battle. His authority over creation is the force behind your courage. When evil rises against you, it is not merely you they face, it is the hand of God moving to protect you. This is why their fear grows, why their plans collapse, and why their strength crumbles when confronted by a soul aligned with the Almighty. Therefore, live with boldness, stand unshaken, pursue righteousness with passion and perseverance. Guard your heart and mind with the Word of God, pray continually. Walk humbly in His presence and cling tightly to His promises. Let your life become a living witness that no evil can triumph where God's power dwells. When you live this way, you do not simply endure the darkness, you shine as the light that drives it away. That, beloved, is how you cause evil to fear you, by becoming a vessel of God's unstoppable strength, His enduring peace, and His eternal truth. The battle belongs to Him. The victory is yours. And the fear of the Lord remains the sword that conquers all. With persuasive manipulators. And kindness does not always equal purity. That is why we must abandon judgment through fleshly eyes and begin to see with the eyes of the Spirit. That is why we must cry out to God saying, show me their true nature. Unveil what my eyes cannot see. And God in His mercy will start revealing the truth. He will point out warning signs before harm reaches you. He will cause certain people to expose their real nature when you least expect it. He will allow your spirit to feel unsettled when you are near someone who does not carry His light. You may not always have the words to explain it, but you will sense it. You will sense that something is not right. You will sense that something is out of place. And that awareness, that deep inner assurance, is one of the greatest shields God can give you. Yet many ignore it. Many feel the nudge but still step directly into the snare. Many detect the darkness but still choose to entertain the conversation. Many hear God's instruction to stay quiet, but they keep revealing too much. Why? Because they value being connected more than being protected. They crave approval more than safety. And so they silence God's whisper for the applause of people. By the time the mask drops, the wound has already been inflicted. Do not be one of them. Do not be the one who always learns through unnecessary pain. Do not be the one who repeats cycles of hurt because you refuse to trust the voice of God. Learn to pause before you proceed. Learn to watch before you speak. Learn to pray before you participate. Learn to guard your story until you know who you are sharing it with. Not everyone is worthy of your heart. Not everyone should hear your vision. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Learn to evaluate actions, not just listen to words. Learn to test the Spirit, not merely enjoy the company. Learn to ask God what lies beneath the surface. When He begins to teach you in this way, your life will move in a different rhythm. You will no longer rush to call everyone a friend. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself to those who do not matter. You will no longer chase people for their attention. Instead, you will carry yourself with dignity. You will walk in wisdom. You will live with spiritual vision that pierces through the disguise. You will recognize envy hiding in a flattering remark. You will pick up on bitterness in someone's silence. You will notice dishonor in someone's absence. You will discern who genuinely supports you and who merely tolerates you. You will see who celebrates your success and who secretly competes against you. And the most powerful part is that you will not need confrontation. You will not need arguments. You will not need justifications. God will simply reveal the truth to you in quietness. This is the gift of discernment. This is the ability to read the heart without knowing the person. It is not learned through mental training, but through the surrender of your spirit. You must desire truth above comfort. You must value clarity over flattery. You must want God more than you want popularity. Because when you truly see people for who they are, it changes the way you respond to the world. You will begin to choose silence instead of fighting to prove yourself. You will begin to walk away rather than explaining your worth. You will start valuing your peace more than you chase after approval. And that, my friend, is true freedom. Let me share something with you. When God begins to train you in reading people, you will recognize the traps long before they are set. You will sense the strain behind a smile. You will perceive the intent behind the words. You will no longer be swayed by flattery or crushed by betrayal, because what others discover too late, you will have already seen in the Spirit. You will not be unsettled by what you have already discerned. You will walk through life with spiritual eyes wide open. And while others are caught off guard by betrayal, you will remain steady because God revealed it to you long before, and you chose to keep your peace and act with wisdom. Some of you hearing this today have been wounded by someone who looked like a saint but acted like a thief. You gave generously, and they took advantage. You trusted without caution, and you were left in heartbreak. But take this as your wake-up call. This is God's invitation for you to seek not only healing, but also discernment. Don't just recover, become wiser. Don't just weep, grow stronger. Don't just feel pity for yourself. Ask God to prepare you so the same trap never catches you again. Because once God sharpens your spiritual senses, you will no longer be deceived by appearances. You will know when someone is speaking truth or simply executing a strategy. You will know when someone genuinely loves you or merely needs you. You will know when a person seeks your heart or just your resources. And you will know because God Himself will reveal it. When He does, pay attention. Don't dismiss it. Don't explain it away. Don't let your emotions drown out God's voice of warning. When God shows you, believe what He says. In this life you will encounter countless faces, but every face carries a spirit, and it is the spirit that matters, not the surface. Only God can open your eyes to see it. Only God can train your heart to understand the hidden truths. So draw near to Him, seek Him daily. Ask Him to uncover what is unseen, and He will. He is not a God who conceals His guidance. He is not a God who allows His children to wander in blindness. He will give you sight that sees clearly. And once you have it, deception will no longer have power over you. Understand this. The gift of spiritual vision, the ability to perceive the heart and soul, is not for the arrogant, nor for those seeking control. It is not for those who desire to expose others to inflate their own ego. No, it is for those who recognize that life is a battleground, and the enemy of your peace often approaches with the face of a friend. It is for those who have been hurt too many times and cry out to God, show me what is real. It is for the humble. It is for the broken. It is for those who refuse to live blind any longer, those who are done falling into draining relationships, deceptive agreements, and circles that smile to your face but curse you behind your back. Let me speak plainly to your spirit. You were never created to walk in darkness. You were never intended to wander without direction, trusting only in what your eyes can see. God has given you a mind to reason, but even greater than that, He has placed within you a soul that can sense. And when that soul is aligned with the presence of God, it becomes sharper than any weapon man could ever forge. You begin to notice the silence hidden between words. You start to feel the disrespect beneath politeness. You begin to see the fractures in an otherwise perfect mask. The more you surrender yourself to God, the sharper your vision becomes. You stop stumbling into the same mistakes. You stop doubting what you already know in your spirit. You stop questioning your worth every time someone walks away, betrays you, or turns against you because you saw it before it happened. God had already prepared your heart. Understand, this deeply discernment is not the same as suspicion. It is not about judgment. It is not about hunting for flaws. It is not about digging into someone's past or analyzing their every action. Suspicion grows out of fear, but discernment flows from peace. Suspicion troubles the mind, while discernment protects the soul. This is not about living in paranoia. It is about living in spiritual authority. It means being so connected to God that when someone steps into your space, your spirit instantly recognizes whether they carry peace or poison, whether they were sent by the hand of God or by the forces of confusion, distraction, or even destruction. And the truth is, not everyone who enters your life is there to bless it. Some are sent as tests. Some are assignments from the enemy. Some are meant to slow you down, lead you astray, or drain your strength. If you are not spiritually alert, you may welcome them with open arms, calling it love, friendship, or loyalty until it wounds you. But when your heart is aligned with God, you stop being fooled by charm. You no longer need to see the mask of kindness to believe someone's intentions. You do not wait for pain before recognizing danger, because God warns His people. He speaks to those who stay close to Him, and when you walk with Him, you will perceive what others overlook. You will hear what others ignore. And yes, there will be moments when no one else understands, when everyone else believes someone is pure and kind, but you alone feel the weight of God's warning in your spirit. Do not dismiss what God reveals to you. Do not silence your discernment just to be accepted by the crowd. Do not trade clarity for comfort, because what God whispers to your heart is not up for debate. It is not for public opinion. It is a shield of divine protection placed directly over your life. Honor it. Obey it. Walk in it even when you stand alone. For there are many who appear righteous yet harbor rebellion. There are many who speak of peace yet bring turmoil into every place they enter. There are many who seem gentle yet ignite conflict everywhere they go. God sees every bit of it. And if you remain close to Him, He will allow you to see it as well. But you must choose to believe Him the first time. You must trust the whisper before the storm arrives. Because if you dismiss His warnings, you may end up repairing what He was trying to keep from breaking in the first place. Make no mistake. Discernment is not only about guarding yourself from others, it is also about examining the state of your own heart. Sometimes we become so intent on reading people that we neglect to read ourselves. Let God reveal you to yourself. Let Him uncover the pride you hide. Let Him bring to light the jealousy you bury deep inside. Let Him expose the insecurity you cover with humor or confidence. Because if you cannot see your own heart clearly, how can you ever truly read the heart of another? If your own emotions blind you, how can you make a fair judgment of anyone else? That is why discernment always begins with surrender. You must pray, search me, correct me, remove whatever clouds my vision. The purer your heart becomes, the sharper your perception of others will be. Your ability to see is only as clear as your conscience. If your soul is weighed down with bitterness, unforgiveness, or pride, then your judgments will be clouded. But when your heart is clean, your spirit becomes keen, and your discernment takes on a divine clarity. Life changes completely when you allow God to read people on your behalf. When you stop relying solely on what you think and start trusting in what God knows. You stop wasting years on unhealthy relationships. You stop pouring energy into people who never truly cared for you. You stop mourning over those who left because you recognize that some departures are actually God's protection. Some separations are sacred, and if you had seen what God saw, you would have walked away much sooner. Let God refine your instincts. Let Him strengthen your silence. Let Him teach you the patterns of human behavior, because people reveal their intentions through repeated actions long before they confess them. Pay attention to how they treat others. Notice how they speak about those who are absent. Observe how they respond to correction, how they handle tension, and how they act when the spotlight is not on them. While the world only notices the surface, you will discern the root, and when you see the root, you will not be fooled by the fruit. Yes, some will dislike you for this. Some will resent your discernment, because the moment you begin to see clearly, you become dangerous to those who operate in the shadows. When you stop believing every word, when you no longer dance to the rhythm of their flattery, when you no longer open your life to everyone who smiles, you will be misunderstood. But do not shrink back. Do not justify yourself. And never apologize for the clarity God has entrusted to you. Guard it, protect it, steward it well, because it is not pride, it is obedience. It is not hardness, it is wisdom. The deeper you grow in this gift, the quieter you become, because once you truly understand people, there is no need to expose them. You simply move with wisdom. You no longer strive to prove yourself right. You let time confirm what your spirit already knew, because discernment does not argue, it sees, understands, and decides. It doesn't react from emotion, it responds from the Spirit. But let me caution you, handle this gift with care. Discernment is sacred. It is not meant to be used as a weapon to tear others down. It is not permission to condemn, nor is it a platform for spiritual pride. It is a shield for your heart, a compass for your journey, and a quiet signal that tells you when to step forward or when to step back, when to speak and when to remain silent. The moment you twist it for self-glory or to belittle another, you grieve the God who entrusted it to you. Stay humble, remain teachable, and keep your heart surrendered, and God will continue to entrust you with deeper insight. The truth is this: in every place you walk into, every conversation you hear, and every connection you make, your spirit is sensing, your soul is reading. The question is, are you close enough to God to understand what you feel? Are you still enough to hear His whisper? Or are you so distracted, so ruled by emotion, so eager for acceptance that you ignore the very discernment meant to protect you? This is not the hour to live unaware. This is not the moment to be careless with your heart. We live in a world full of noise, strategies, and hidden agendas. You must walk in wisdom. You must be able to detect the atmosphere of a room, the unspoken tone behind a message, the subtle change in someone's demeanor, not with suspicion, but with discernment. Not to condemn, but to guard what is sacred. Your peace is holy. Your purpose is holy. Your spirit is holy. And not everyone deserves entry into what God has set apart within you. So cry out to God. Ask for a heart that discerns. Ask for spiritual sight. Ask Him to sharpen your instincts, to awaken your awareness, to speak to you through the quiet voice of your conscience. Pray, Lord, I refuse to be fooled again. I don't want to be deceived by empty words or charming faces. Help me walk in your truth. Let me see what you see. Teach me to love with purity and protect with wisdom. And He will answer. For God takes joy in giving wisdom to those who hunger for it. He delights in illuminating the path for those who ask. He does not desire for His people to walk in darkness or to stumble into the same traps repeatedly. He is ready to show you what others overlook, but you must ask, you must listen, and most importantly, you must obey. For what value is a warning if it is ignored? What good is sight if you willingly shut your eyes? What benefit is discernment if your emotions drown out God's gentle voice? God is not silent. God is not distant. And when you sincerely ask Him to reveal the truth about those around you, He will. when you walk closely with Him each day, when you lay aside your own judgments, when you release your assumptions and allow Him to train your vision, He will make your spirit as sharp as a finely honed blade. You will step into a room and instantly know who stands with you and who stands against you. You will hear a voice and sense the weight and intent behind its words. You will sit quietly and still receive more truth than hours of conversation could ever give. That is the strength of spiritual discernment. That is the blessing of walking hand in hand with God. And once you experience it, once you learn to live by it, you will never again choose blindness. You will never again ignore the signs. You will never again allow charm to blur clarity, because God Himself will have trained your eyes to see. And that sight, divine, holy, and unshakable, is what separates pain from peace, chaos from wisdom, and falling into the same trap from finally walking free. Now listen carefully, for this is for those who have ears to hear. The world grows darker with each passing day. Confusion roams freely. Deception wears beauty as a disguise. Corruption speaks in polished tones. And you must grasp this truth. This is not a time when you can afford to wander through life with blind trust. The enemy does not appear with horns and flames. No, he enters with kind eyes, a warm smile, and a friendly handshake. And if you are not walking with God, you may welcome the very thing sent to destroy you. Understand this: God never intended for you to stumble through life, repeating the same betrayals, suffering the same wounds again and again. That is not your calling. That is not your future. God calls you into wisdom. He calls you into awareness. He calls you to discern, not to condemn, not to attack, but to protect your mission, your heart, your mind, and your peace. When you journey with Him long enough, you begin to see people beyond their titles, beyond their charisma, beyond their accomplishments. You see them by the weight of their spirit. You begin to feel truth. You begin to sense disorder before it finds words. You begin to distinguish between those who carry light and those hiding dark motives. God will sometimes allow certain people to come close, not to harm you, but to teach you to see what you once overlooked. Every betrayal has been a lesson. Every disappointment has been a teacher. Every heartbreak has been a tool in God's hand to make your spirit alert. Now you stand at the threshold of wisdom, but will you step into it? Will you reflect on every misstep and ask God to open your eyes? Or will you keep circling the same patterns, expecting change while leaving your discernment undeveloped? Remember this: God speaks through more than words. He speaks through the atmosphere. He speaks through moments of silence. He speaks through the unease that stirs in your soul. When your spirit begins to feel uneasy, when your peace starts to fade, when your heart feels a weight in someone's presence, do not dismiss that inner alarm. That is God covering you. That is God quietly urging you. Look closer. Stay still. Pay attention. Yet the world has trained us to mute those warnings for the sake of appearing agreeable. Society tells us to ignore that inner leading in the name of politeness. But I tell you this: when you silence the alerts from God, you leave the doors of your life wide open to destruction. You cannot be casual with your calling. You cannot compromise your anointing just to please people. You cannot surrender the keys of your heart to anyone simply because they speak kindly. That is not love, it is spiritual carelessness. God is calling you to a higher place. He is calling you to be wise as a serpent, yet gentle as a dove. Yes, walk with kindness, but never without discernment. Love with compassion, but never without caution. Your life is too precious to be shared freely with every person who knocks at your door. Understand this: one of the surest signs that God is sharpening your discernment is when you grow uncomfortable in the company of pretense. You begin to sense what is false. You can no longer find joy in conversations rooted in manipulation. You start withdrawing not out of pride, but because your spirit no longer agrees with the spirit around you. That subtle resistance, that inner tension is not meant to be ignored. It is the fine-tuning of your spiritual senses. It is God drawing a clear line in the unseen realm saying, do not cross here. This is your boundary of protection. Some will call you distant. Others will call you guarded. Let them. Your peace is not a matter for public debate. Your clarity is not something you should bargain away. Because once you've been wounded by deception, once you've paid the heavy price of trusting the wrong spirit, you will treasure discernment like pure gold. And what God has taught you through pain, no one should ever take from you again. So, how do you keep sharpening this gift? How do you grow in the ability to see the unseen, hear beyond the words, and sense what is still unspoken? You cultivate it through quietness, through stillness, through time alone with God. Discernment is not birthed in noise, it is formed in the secret place. It grows when your heart becomes still enough to hear God's whisper above the world's clamor. It is developed in the hidden hours, when the world sleeps, but your spirit remains awake before your Creator, saying, teach me, show me, lead me. And when you make this your way of life, not just a hurried prayer in moments of crisis, discernment becomes part of your spiritual DNA. Your soul becomes a guarded sanctuary where no deception can cross undetected. But hear this warning, it will come at a price. For when you walk in true discernment, you will often be misunderstood. You will decline opportunities others are eager to embrace. You will distance yourself from people everyone else applauds. You will take more time before trusting, speak less quickly, step back more often, and many will question your choices. Some will even label you as cold or unapproachable. Let them speak. Your calling is not to satisfy the crowd, but to safeguard the light God has placed inside you. Some of you are currently surrounded by people God never intended to be part of your journey. You've ignored the warnings. You've prayed for peace in relationships God has been urging you to leave behind. You've been trying to repair what He never asked you to build. Deep within, your spirit feels drained, not because the situation is impossible, but because your discernment is clashing with your desires. The longer you resist God's direction, the heavier your soul becomes. It is time to yield. It is time to let God refine your inner circle. Time to allow Him to cut away ties that endanger your destiny. This process will not always feel pleasant. Sometimes discernment demands distance. Sometimes wisdom requires silence. Sometimes clarity feels like isolation. But that wilderness, that quiet season is where God trains your vision. It is where He sharpens your spiritual awareness. It is where He removes distractions so that when He speaks, you no longer confuse His voice with your own thoughts. You must be willing to lose the approval of many to gain true spiritual clarity. You must be ready to stand in obedience alone rather than fit in through compromise. Your future depends on what your spirit can perceive, not merely what your eyes can see. When God reveals the truth about someone, believe Him the first time. Do not wait for betrayal. Do not wait for conflict. Do not wait for wounds to confirm what your spirit already discerned. Trust God's Word above the comfort of your own preferences. The world will attempt to teach you how to evaluate people through psychology, strategy, or human reasoning, but I tell you, none of these compare to the insight that flows from God. The Creator of every heart knows exactly how to reveal its true condition. The one who formed the soul can show you what no education or technique ever could. And when you fully commit your spirit to Him, He will guide you in discerning others, not to condemn them, but to protect the divine assignment placed within you. So do not be shocked when God starts removing certain people from your life. Do not grieve every closed door. Sometimes the greatest mercy God gives is a separation you never requested, because He sees what you cannot see. He hears what you have not heard. He knows their intentions long before you sense the change. Trust Him. Trust the removals. Trust the stillness. Trust the endings. For every time God clears the space around you, it is because He is preparing room for something holy, something pure, and something perfectly aligned with your future. Let your prayer not be, God, make everyone accept me. Instead, let it be, God, reveal those who are truly for me. Do not cry out for popularity, but for purity of heart. For God will not place confusion in the path of someone He has called to walk in clarity. And you, my friend, were never created to be deceived. You were created to discern, to perceive, to walk with a vision that pierces through the fog of falsehood. So rise in wisdom, move with the strength that comes from stillness. Let your quiet moments be rich with revelation. Keep your spirit watchful in a world that slumbers. While many are caught in the web of flattery or entangled in shallow connections, you will walk in freedom. You will walk with protection. You will walk in blessing, because God Himself has taught you how to see. And once that sight is given, no darkness can put out its fire. No storm can throw off its direction. No enemy can break through its shield. For it does not come from you, it is God's, entrusted to the faithful, given to the surrendered, and preserved for the humble. And once you live by it, you will never again be enslaved by appearances. This is how the people of God move. This is how we walk. Eyes open, spirit steady, heart surrendered, not guided by emotions, not swayed by charm, not pressured by the crowd, but led by the one who sees all, knows all, and warns before the wound. And to the one hearing this, whose spirit is stirring, I say, this is your moment. Let God open your eyes. Let Him cleanse your circle. Let Him expose what has been hidden. Ask, seek, wait, and you will understand. For when you walk with God, you do not need to know every detail about a person to discern their truth. You simply need to walk close enough to the one who knows it all. And when you do, no one and nothing will be able to deceive you again. Hear me when I say you were never meant to wander blindly through a world dripping with deception. You were never created to keep stumbling into wounds caused by those who speak softly, yet hide sharp blades behind their backs. You were designed to walk in clarity, in truth, and in discernment that flows only from the one who holds every heart in His hands. When you fully surrender to God, He does more than guide your steps. He trains your spirit. He sharpens your inner senses. He teaches you the unspoken spiritual language of people, where intentions shout louder than words and where silence echoes louder than applause. Here's the truth many do not want to face. Not every enemy comes with a sword. Some arrive carrying gifts. And unless God has trained you to discern the spirit behind the smile, you may unknowingly invite your own downfall right into your home. There are people sent to delay you, entangle you, and confuse you, not with open conflict, but with subtle tactics. The enemy does not always roar. Often he whispers, he flatters. He pretends sincerity. He imitates friendship. But when your soul is anchored in God, you will never be deceived by the counterfeit. You will not be lured by empty bait. You will feel the weight of someone's spirit and sense the darkness hiding behind their charm. You must understand discernment is the guardrail of your destiny. It is the unseen sword that shields you when human reasoning falls short. When you cannot explain the unease in your heart, but your spirit refuses to settle, listen, that is God pulling you back from danger. Far too many are wounded, not because God stayed silent, but because they brushed aside His warning as fear, negativity, or overthinking. Hear this clearly. Fear and discernment are not the same. Fear reacts to what is unknown, but discernment responds to what is unseen. Fear springs from doubt, while discernment is rooted in revelation. If you earnestly seek God, He will train your inner being to stay alert. You will no longer need someone's past to understand their motives. You will no longer have to hear their full story to grasp their presence. Your spirit will begin to recognize patterns before your mind can name them. Your soul will quietly withdraw in the company of deceit, even if that person speaks your language and imitates your values. That is not suspicion. It is God's whisper saying, do not attach yourself here. Do not engage. This one is not from me. Discernment is not only for your protection, it is also for your alignment. Just as some people are sent to harm you, others are sent to strengthen, to bless, and to walk with you toward God's purpose for your life. Discernment helps you identify divine connections. It helps you hear the steady tone of truth in humble speech. It allows you to feel peace when someone's presence matches your calling. It helps you sense when God is saying, I sent this one. I have prepared them to walk beside you. Heads. Without discernment, you risk pushing away those who are meant for you while embracing those who will derail you. You will miss the ones God sent because you chose charisma over character. When you dwell in God's presence, a divine radar begins to form within you. You grow sensitive to the atmosphere around you. You sense when something is spiritually off, even if it looks perfect to everyone else. You may not always have the words to explain it, but deep down you will know. You will know who speaks truth and who only performs righteousness. You will know who is genuinely broken and who hides behind false humility. And you will know not because of your own reasoning, but because God has confirmed it in your spirit. But be prepared. Discernment comes with a cost. It will cost you popularity. It will strip away shallow relationships. It will take the approval of those who benefit from your blindness, because once God opens your eyes, you cannot pretend not to see. Once you walk in clarity, you cannot choose ignorance just to keep the peace. Once your spirit becomes alert, you can no longer pretend ignorance just to gain the approval of others. You must choose between comfort and clarity, between validation and vision, between the crowd and the call of God. Many will not understand why you step back from circles that once made you feel alive. Many will question why you no longer participate in conversations that once amused you. Some will accuse you of pride, arrogance, or self-isolation. But what they cannot see is that God is teaching you to protect the treasure He placed within you. When your purpose outweighs your need for popularity, you begin to realize that not everyone should have access to your atmosphere. And hear this truth well. Discernment is never meant for harsh judgment. It is not for elevating yourself above others. It is not for condemning or fostering suspicion. Rather, discernment is a gift of love, a weapon of wisdom, and a strategy for survival. It enables you to love deeply, yet keep healthy distance when necessary. It empowers you to forgive, yet remember what God revealed to you. It allows you to serve with humility without being exploited or manipulated. It teaches you to remain gentle, but never naive. Yes, there will be seasons when God will put your discernment to the test. He may allow someone near you to speak sweetly while harboring hidden motives. He may permit certain individuals to rise around you, not to harm you, but to train your spiritual sensitivity. In those moments, you must lean not on emotions, nor on shared history, but on the witness of the Spirit within you. God's goal is not merely to protect you, but to prepare you so that no tactic, no scheme, no flattery, and no disguise can bypass your guard. Some of you have lived your whole life feeling what others could not. You've sensed danger where no one else saw a threat. You've heard God's quiet warnings and doubted yourself because others did not feel the same. Let me affirm you today, you are not imagining it. You are not damaged, you are discerning. God has given you a rare sensitivity, a holy gift, and you must never apologize for it. Do not dull it. Do not bury it to blend in with those who cannot see. Allow God to refine it. Let Him sharpen your vision. Let Him teach you when to speak and when to remain silent, when to confront and when to walk away, when to intercede and when to release. True maturity and discernment is not just knowing, it is knowing how to act on what you know. And if you nurture this closeness with God, if you press in deeper, if you wait patiently in prayer, seeking not only His hand but His heart, He will open your eyes in ways you never dreamed possible. You will begin to carry a wisdom that confuses your enemies and walk through relationships with divine grace. You will no longer be shaken by betrayal, for you will have recognized it long before it arrived. You will not be caught off guard by rejection, because deep down you will have known they were never truly with you. This is the blessing of walking closely with God. He grants insight no textbook can teach, and foresight no earthly training can provide. He gives you a peace no imitation can reproduce. He gives you unshakable truth. And once you walk in that truth, you are no longer a prisoner to people's opinions, actions, or empty promises. You become anchored in what is eternal, and your life begins to overflow with clarity, purity, wisdom, and holy strength. So lean into discernment. Do not run from it, pursue it. Do not dull your God-given instincts, develop them. Do not apologize for your silence, protect it. Do not doubt your spirit, trust it when it is aligned with the Lord. In this time when deception increases and wolves dress as sheep, God's people must not only believe, they must see. This is the call in this hour. To see, to know, to discern, and to guard the assignment God has entrusted to you. Not everyone is meant to go with you, and not everyone should. But when you walk in discernment, you will not be swayed by who departs. Your focus will remain on the one who sent you, the voice of truth, and the peace that confirms your every step. That is the sacred power of perceiving people without needing to know their history, because you walk with the one who knows all. As we come to the close of this message, pause and remember that every word you speak, every glance you give, every thought you form is seen by the Almighty. God is not silent, absent, or unaware. He is the all-knowing one, the watcher of every soul, the revealer of what is hidden beneath the surface. If you walk with Him, honor Him, and keep your heart pure before Him, He will give you eyes to see what others cannot. You will not be deceived. You will not walk in blindness. You will not be lured by smiles hiding serpents or by flattery void of truth. God will train you to discern the soul without relying on appearances. He will reveal the truth behind the mask and alert your spirit before your eyes even understand. For those who fear the Lord and seek His presence, there is discernment, wisdom, and light. It cannot be learned in classrooms, purchased with wealth, or earned by human merit. It is given freely by the hand of God. The world may call it instinct, but we know it as the gentle whisper of the Almighty guiding His own. So go forward not as a cynic, but as a servant of God walking in truth. Be humble, be watchful. Stand in awe that the Creator of heaven and earth would care enough to teach you the hidden things. Guard your heart, but also guard your spirit. Surround yourself with those who honor God, who speak truth when no one is watching, and who love even when it costs them something. And when you encounter someone new, do not lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge God, and He will reveal what you must know. May your steps be led not by assumption, but by revelation. May your choices be guided not by fleeting emotion, but by godly conviction. May you grow so deeply rooted in your relationship with the Lord that no deceiver, no manipulator, and no pretender can breach your spiritual gates. You were never meant to live fooled. You were created to walk in divine clarity. Ask God, and He will show you. Trust Him, and He will keep you from falling. This is the strength of one whose confidence is not in themselves, but in the God who sees all, and a deep lightness when you are walking in it. This is conviction, your spiritual compass, understood only by an obedient heart. When your inner conviction aligns with your direction, you are not simply moving, you are being moved by God Himself. Listen carefully, child of God. People will not always understand your journey because it was never assigned to them. Stop waiting for approval from those who did not hear what God whispered to you in the secret place. Stop questioning your steps just because they don't match someone else's map. If you are obedient, you are already victorious. If you are walking in purpose, you are already powerful. Obedience is your evidence, purpose is your proof, and peace is your promise. One more undeniable sign is the attack of the enemy. Yes, when you are walking the right road, the enemy will not remain silent. He will stir up false accusations. He will send distractions. He will try to exhaust you with fear, weariness, and guilt that does not belong to you. But remember this, if the enemy is fighting you, it is because he fears what you carry. He does not pursue the lukewarm. He does not bother with the distracted. His focus is always on the chosen. He goes after those who are aligned with God's purpose. The fiercer the battle, the surer you can be that you are standing in the heat of a divine assignment. Do not retreat. Do not curse the struggle. Worship through it. Push through it. That very fight is your confirmation. And we cannot overlook the fruit. God always affirms His path with fruit, not always instantly, but certainly in due time. You will begin to notice results not only in the work of your hands, but in the shaping of your soul. Walking with God does not merely move you to a new place. It reshapes who you are. You grow in patience, in focus, in resilience, and in surrender. This inner transformation is one of the clearest indicators that you are in His will. It is not solely about outward achievement, it is about deep spiritual maturity. God is not only leading you toward a promise, He is molding you into the kind of person who can carry it well. When you reach that moment, you will witness divine alignment. People, opportunities, and places will begin to connect without forcing, without manipulating, but through the orchestration of heaven. You will encounter people who hold the missing pieces to your journey. You will be led to places you never planned, yet everything will fit together perfectly. That is the arrangement of God. That is the imprint of the divine. What you could never plan or predict, He brings into order. Such alignment is a supernatural assurance that you are walking with Him. Let me speak directly to your weary heart. Some of you have been asking God for a sign, and this is it. This very word is your confirmation. You are not off track. You are not under punishment. You are not abandoned. You are exactly where God intends for you to be. Silence does not mean He is absent. Delay does not mean you have been denied. You are not alone. Even in the loneliness of the road, God walks beside you. God dwells within you. God fights for you. So keep going. Keep believing. Keep obeying. Even when no one else notices, God sees it. Even without applause, His approval is enough. And when God approves, no man can revoke your calling. When He opens a door, no one can close it. When His word is spoken over your life, no force in hell can undo it. You are walking in destiny. You are standing in purpose. You are sheltered by the hand of the Almighty. Sometimes the right road feels wrong because it passes through furnaces, deserts, and trials before it leads to promise. But never confuse discomfort with disfavor. Do not interpret pain as punishment. At times, pain is simply the cost of progress. The fire you face is not sent to consume you. It is sent to purify you. God never wastes the fire. He uses it to burn away fear, strip off distraction, expose what is unclean, and prepare you for the next season ahead. Do not turn back now. Do not quit now. Do not walk away from what you were anointed to complete. The signs are all around you: the peace, the provision, the alignment, the battle, the growth, the conviction, and the resistance. All of it is speaking clearly, declaring that God is with you, that you are not lost, that you are not forgotten. You are simply being led. And to be led by God is the greatest privilege on earth, even when your emotions shift. Even when your motivation fades, the truth remains unshaken. God does not change. If He called you, He will carry you. If He began the work, He will bring it to completion. If He led you here, He will not abandon you here. His faithfulness is not dependent on your feelings. It is anchored in His unchanging nature. God is not a man that He should lie. If He declared it, He will do it. If He promised it, He will fulfill it. Walk forward with your head lifted, your spirit steady, and your heart full of faith. Because the road you are on is not random. It is not by accident. It is not a wrong turn. It is destiny. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are being taken somewhere intentional. Every step, every tear, every sacrifice is not wasted. It is building something eternal. It is shaping the testimony of your life. And one day you will look back and see that every curve, every delay, every wilderness was carefully ordered by God's hand to lead you into the fullness of your calling. Let your heart absorb this truth now. God is not only directing you, He is preserving you for something far greater than you can currently imagine. Often, what appears to be a detour is actually preparation. You may not have reached the promise yet, but the path is no mistake. When you surrender your life to the will of God, you are no longer guided by maps made by human hands. You are being led by the divine mind, the all-knowing, all-powerful, one who sees what you cannot. While you focus on the next step, God is already preparing your destination. While you endure this season, He is securing your future. And here is something many fail to recognize. Sometimes God confirms the right path not by adding more, but by taking away what no longer belongs. People you've lost, places you've been removed from, doors that have shut without explanation at first. It hurt deeply. You asked, why would this happen now? But in the kingdom of God, subtraction is often a tool for elevation. When He removes someone or something from your life, it is often because it would have hindered where He is leading you. Trust the subtraction. Trust the empty spaces. They are not signs of abandonment. They are signs of divine alignment. Understand this. When you are on God's path, your life will often appear unusual to others. You will be labeled different. You will be misunderstood. But this is the price of walking in purpose. You were never called to blend in. You were chosen to follow the whisper of God above the noise of the world. And that means there will be seasons of solitude, moments when your only companion is obedience. But do not fear the quiet. God often does His deepest work in the stillness, in the cave, in the wilderness, in the long silent nights. These are not wasted times. They are sacred moments. They are the refining ground of the chosen. Remember this, when God is affirming your path, you will experience a supernatural endurance. There will be strength that defies reason. While others collapse under pressure, you will continue standing. You may be hurting, but you will still be believing. You may be exhausted, yet your faith will burn like a steady flame. That strength is not from your own ability, it comes from God. He empowers those who walk in His will. He sustains those who say yes to His direction. If you are still standing after all you've faced, let that be your confirmation God is with you. There is a divine mystery in how God moves. He rarely reveals the full picture, yet He always gives you enough to take the next step, a glimpse, a whisper, a sign, a moment of undeniable clarity. That is all you truly need. The rest requires trust. God is not focused on building your comfort. He is building your faith. He wants you to trust His heart, even when you cannot see His hand. And oh, how heaven is moved when a surrendered soul says, even if I don't understand, I will follow where you lead. That kind of surrender shakes the heavens and releases blessings that no earthly force can contain. Another sure sign that you are walking in the right direction is when your inner life begins to change, when your desires shift, when your hunger for shallow distractions fades, when you stop chasing human approval and start craving God's approval. That is no small change. That is the hand of God shaping you from the inside out. Do not overlook it. Do not minimize it. It means He is realigning your heart to fit your divine assignment. This is not just growth, it is holy preparation. And hear this. Confirmation can also come through opposition, not only from strangers, but sometimes from those dearest to you. When God gives you a vision, not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will support it. Some will doubt, some will mock, and some will try to talk you out of it. But do not lose heart. Their disbelief does not cancel your destiny. God does not need their agreement to fulfill His plan in your life. On the right path, rejection becomes redirection, criticism becomes fuel, and solitude becomes the sacred place where you learn that God is enough. Do not fear what you cannot yet understand. The unknown is not a threat when God is leading the way. Faith is not having every answer. It is trusting God when no answers come. If He tells you to go, then go. If He says to leave, then leave. If He instructs you to build, then build. Do not delay your obedience to make others comfortable. Do not wait for ideal conditions to act on what God has already confirmed in your heart. The wind may not seem favorable, and the skies may remain overcast, but when God says move, it is the moment to step forward. As you do, watch how He carves a path through what once appeared impossible. See how barriers begin to yield to divine timing. Notice how the mountains start to tremble at the sound of your steps. For when you walk with God, you walk in authority, an authority that does not need to shout to be heard, yet shifts atmospheres simply by your presence. Why? Because you carry the unmistakable mark of divine direction. You are not wandering aimlessly, you are advancing with purpose. Let me make this plain. God is not playing with your life. He is not casually experimenting with your future. He is intentional, exact, and unwaveringly faithful. Every battle you've endured, every delay you've faced, and every detour you've taken has been woven into a plan far higher than your reasoning and deeper than your comprehension. Your disappointments have not disqualified you. Your failures have not erased your calling. If you still have breath in your lungs, it means His work in you is not yet complete. Your journey is far from finished. In fact, some of the most significant chapters are still ahead. And when doubt slips in, and it will, when your emotions try to shout louder than your faith, return to the last clear thing God told you. Revisit that moment when you knew without question it was Him. Hold on to that word, that prayer, that stirring in your spirit. That is your anchor. The storms will rage, the waves will rise, but if your anchor is secured in what God has spoken, you will not be swept away. Do not let impatience rob you of your destiny. Many give up too soon because the promise takes time, but God is never late. He does not rush like man. He is building something meant to endure. He is setting a foundation so deep, so unshakable, that when the blessing arrives, it will not break you. God's desire is not only to give you the blessing, but to ensure you have the strength to sustain it. That is why the process feels weighty. That is why the road feels long. Yet when the moment finally comes, what took years to prepare will be fulfilled in an instant. Let your spirit grasp this truth. When you walk in alignment with God, you become a danger to the darkness. You are a threat to the systems of this world. You are a vessel carrying divine power and purpose. So naturally, the opposition will be fierce. Naturally, the enemy will want you to quit. But you must remain steadfast. This is not the time to shrink back. It is the time to roar with faith. Let the fire within you blaze brighter than the fear surrounding you. The path God called you to is rarely the popular one, but it is always the powerful one. It may be narrow, it may be lonely, it may be misunderstood, yet it is filled with divine appointments, supernatural victories, and eternal significance. You are not walking solely for yourself, you are walking for the sake of generations yet to come. Your obedience today will echo through eternity. Your footsteps will open a path for others to follow. One day someone will rise higher because you refused to quit, because you trusted God when no one else would. Let me tell you this. If the path before you was chosen by God, then every step you take is holy. Do not allow anyone to diminish the value of your journey. Do not let circumstances shake your confidence in the road God has placed beneath your feet. Every act of obedience to Him is a strike against fear, a sacred march toward your calling. There is no greater honor than following the quiet voice of God with unwavering faith, and no greater courage than moving forward when the world insists you should turn back. The way may be rough, but the hand guiding you is strong. The night may feel endless, but the one watching over you never slumbers. You might feel overlooked, yet God notices every sacrifice. You might feel unheard, yet He listens to the faintest cries of your heart. The world applauds what it sees, but God honors what is done in secret. Every tear you've shed in silence is recorded. Every prayer you've whispered when no one was watching is treasured. Every time you refuse to compromise, even at great cost, has been written into eternity. You are neither forgotten nor invisible. Your favor does not come from who you are, but from the one you trust. When God places His seal upon your life, no rejection can erase it. No opinion can undo it. No failure can cancel it. His plan is not fragile. It will not collapse when you stumble, nor will it disappear under pressure. God's purpose for you was spoken before the foundation of the world. You were not created to simply survive. You were designed to fulfill something eternal. That calling your divine assignment is what makes your journey unlike anyone else's. Do not compare it. Do not measure it by human deadlines or worldly milestones. God is not working on your timetable. He is shaping your heart. And as He shapes you, you will begin to notice signs that only those walking closely with Him can discern. There will be days when life around you appears ordinary, but deep inside something extraordinary is stirring. You will awaken with unexplainable strength. You will speak words you never planned. You will find yourself led to unexpected places that somehow fit perfectly into His plan. These are not random moments, they are divine arrangements. God is at work even when it appears nothing is changing. Often His most powerful work is hidden from human eyes, yet unmistakable to a heart attuned to Him. Have you ever felt a sudden peace in the most unlikely place? That's a sign. Have you ever stepped into a storm yet found your soul at rest? That's a sign. Have you ever chosen righteousness when compromise was easier and then felt strength rise within you? That's a sign. These are the quiet, unmistakable fingerprints of God along your path. They may not arrive with a flash of lightning or a roar of thunder, but they are no less real. They are deeply personal, and they are enough to assure you that you are still walking in step with the Almighty. Let me speak to the one who finds themselves in a valley today. You may not feel strong. You may not feel chosen. You may not even feel like you're moving forward. But hear this, crawling in the direction God has called you to is still progress. Standing still in faithful obedience while others rush ahead is still an act of power. The valley is not a curse. It is a training ground. It is the place where God breaks you only to rebuild you stronger, where He removes what you thought you needed to reveal what He has already placed within you. You are not buried in this season, you are being planted. And in the right time, you will rise. You will blossom. You will tell the story not of your own strength, but of His unfailing power. Another sign that you are walking the right road is the gift of divine clarity. The closer you walk with God, the more the noise of the world fades. Distractions lose their grip. Counterfeit opportunities become easy to spot before they can entangle you. You can sense when something is wrong, not out of fear, but because your discernment has been sharpened by the One who knows all things. This clarity is no small gift. It is proof that your spirit is tuning itself to the voice of heaven. You are no longer led by the impulses of the flesh. You are guided by something higher, deeper, and eternal. When you are truly walking God's path, you won't need to force doors open. The right opportunities will recognize your arrival. Resources will pursue you. The right people will cross your path, not because you orchestrated it, but because God scheduled the appointment. There is a divine rhythm to God's timing. When you step into it, life begins to flow not without effort, but without panic, not without work, but without striving. Grace begins to anoint your steps, and what once felt impossible begins to unfold, not because you have grown stronger, but because you have grown more surrendered. Here's a mystery sometimes. God confirms you are on the right path by allowing a delay to protect your destiny. He withholds, not to harm you, but to grow you. He closes a door not to keep you out, but to prepare the space for you. Do not despise the pause. Do not resent the waiting. A delay is not the absence of movement. It is the multiplication of purpose. What He is forming in you is far too valuable to be rushed. The longer it takes, the deeper it will endure. Your obedience is not wasted. Your discipline is not overlooked. Your sacrifices will not go unrewarded. God is a righteous rewarder, and He is watching every quiet yes, every lonely step, every unseen act of faith. At the appointed time, His perfect time, He will raise you up. He will vindicate you. He will straighten what was crooked, not for your glory, but for His glory revealed through you. So hold firmly not only to the promise, but to the path that leads to it. The promise without the journey is unfinished. The process without God's presence holds no power. But when you walk hand in hand with Him, even your delays carry purpose. Even your failures are transformed for good. Even your detours point toward destiny. This is not simply a road toward success. It is a road of surrender. And those who fully yield to God's way will never end in shame. If the fire feels hotter, it's because the gold within you is being refined. If the trial feels greater, it's because the calling is weightier. And if the battle feels more intense, it's because the assignment on your life cannot be denied. You were not made to drift aimlessly. You were designed to stand strong in the place God has positioned you. You are a light shining in a dark world. You are a carrier of divine purpose. You are living proof that God still speaks, still leads, and still reveals His direction to those who seek Him wholeheartedly. Lift your head high. Shake off the lies of the enemy. Walk with confidence, for you are not lost. You are not falling behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are exactly where you need to be in the hands of the One who never makes mistakes. You are on the road that leads to destiny. And God, the One who called you, will complete the work He began in you. Do not turn aside to the left or to the right. Do not search for shortcuts. Do not choose the easier road. Remain where God has placed you. Grow in the soil where He planted you. Walk with honor, love with purity, serve with humility, and move forward in faith. For the road you walk today, though narrow and rugged, is leading to something eternal. It is not only the right road, it is God's road, and that alone is enough. When God sets you on a course, it will not always feel like promotion. It may feel like seclusion. It may feel as though you've been hidden, tucked away, unseen by the world. But know this, what appears to be isolation is often divine protection. God will not unveil what He has not yet refined. He keeps hidden what He is still shaping. He covers what He is still preparing. And in those quiet, unseen places, that is where God's most powerful work is done. So if it seems like no one notices your obedience, your faithfulness, or the tears you cry in the night, remember God sees, and His seeing is enough. Do not be deceived by the applause of people. The world celebrates noise, but God values substance. He is not moved by the spotlight. He is moved by sincerity. The steps you take when no one is applauding matter far more than the performance you give when the crowd is watching. The right path is rarely the popular one. It is the path where you choose righteousness over recognition, integrity over influence, truth over tradition. That is the path God's eyes are fixed upon. That is the path He blesses. Not always instantly, but without question. And never forget, when you walk with God, your timing will never align with the world's clock. While others may be running ahead, God might tell you to slow your pace. While some rush forward, He may instruct you to pause. The path He designs is not measured by speed, but by alignment with His will. One moment of divine alignment is worth more than a lifetime of hurried ambition. The world will urge you to hustle, to strive, to chase after more. But God's voice says, "Be still and trust me." Obedience may look slow, but it is never late. It may seem quiet, yet it carries the power and weight of eternity. When your heart is truly aligned with God, you begin to sense Him in the silence. You start to see His hand even in the storm. You trust Him when your carefully made plans unravel. This kind of faith is not formed overnight. It is refined in the fire, shaped in hidden places, and proven through trials. So do not despise your season of stretching. Do not resent the season of waiting. These are not wasted moments. They are divine investments, deposits of strength, wisdom, character, and unshakable trust. When the blessing arrives, it will not shake you, because your foundation will be unmovable. There is a sacred confidence that comes when you know you are walking God's path. Not arrogance, not pride, but an unshakable assurance that you no longer need approval to move forward. You no longer need agreement to believe. You do not depend on visible opportunities to validate your worth. You step forward because God said go. You stand firm because He said stand. You wait patiently because He said not yet. That kind of faith cannot be burned away. That kind of obedience terrifies the enemy, because you are no longer driven by results, you are driven by divine purpose. Understand this. Sometimes the enemy won't attack by destroying you. He will attempt to distract you. He will set counterfeit roads alongside your true one paths that promise comfort but bring emptiness, routes that feel good but are built on compromise. Be cautious of the easy way when it draws you away from God. The right road is not always the comfortable one, but it is always consecrated. It is set apart. It is holy. And everything holy requires sacrifice, not to earn favor, but to live in true freedom. When you turn away from what is temporary to pursue what is eternal, you declare with every step, I trust God more than I trust myself. People may question your direction. They may say, you're wasting time. You're chasing the impossible. You're being unrealistic. But what they call unrealistic, God calls preparation. What they call foolish, God calls faith. They do not need to understand your journey because the vision was not given to them. God did not plant your purpose in their heart. He planted it in yours. And if He planted it, He will water it, protect it, and cause it to grow. Let the world chase after applause and titles that fade. Let others compete for crowns that will not last. As for you, pursue the presence of God. That is the true reward. That is the real treasure. And if God is with you, you already walk in victory. If God approves of you, the disapproval of others holds no weight. The road you walk may not be lined with applause, but it will always be filled with His presence. And His presence is enough. It will guide you, it will correct you, it will protect you. Yes, there will be moments when you stumble, when doubt rises, when fear tries to weaken your steps. But even in those moments, if you fall while obeying Him, He will lift you. If you fail while pursuing His will, He will restore you. God never abandons those who earnestly seek Him. He does not turn away from those who stumble while moving toward Him. His mercy is not built on perfection. It is built on persistence. Keep moving forward. Keep knocking. Keep asking. The journey with God is not simply about reaching a final destination. It is about walking daily with the One who knows every turn. There will be signs along the way, not loud, not always obvious, but deeply spiritual. The clarity you find in prayer, the peace that floods your soul when you choose the difficult but holy path, the calm that follows obedience even when your surroundings scream chaos. These moments are not accidents, they are confirmations. If you remain attentive to the whispers of God, deception will not take hold. You will be led moment by moment, step by step. Your path may seem narrow right now, but it will lead to open spaces. It may be hidden for a season, but it is guiding you toward a place that cannot be hidden. It may feel heavy with pain, but it is drawing you toward a peace beyond understanding. God is not only leading you forward, He is leading you deeper, deeper into trust, deeper into surrender, deeper into the truth that His ways are higher than yours, His wisdom greater, and His plans far better. You do not need to chase what God has already set aside for you. What has been assigned to you by heaven cannot be stolen, delayed, or denied as long as you stay the course, even when others seem to outpace you. Even if their opportunities come faster, do not look to the left or the right. Keep your focus. Remain humble. Stay obedient. The true path is not proven by speed, but by endurance. God will never place in your hands what will destroy you. He gives only what will fulfill you. And His gifts arrive not in your timing, but in His perfect timing. So keep walking. Walk with courage, even with your brokenness. Move forward through uncertainty. Move forward through the silence. Move forward through rejection. Even when no one is clapping, walk because God sees, God guides, and God is faithful. The path you travel may be costly, but it is covered. It may be narrow, but it is noble. It may be difficult, but it is holy. There will come a moment in every journey when your strength is no longer enough, and you will walk on not by the power of your legs, but by the conviction rooted deep in your heart. That conviction is not born from ease. It is forged in the hidden place where your soul wrestles with fear and doubt, yet refuses to give in. It is within that sacred tension between what you see and what God has promised that He affirms who you truly are. You were never meant to walk a road of comfort. You were created for a road of purpose. And purpose requires endurance. Purpose calls for faith when reality screams the opposite. When you remain faithful in uncertainty, God marks every step as holy. This is not the road for the crowd. This is not the shallow shore. This is deep calling unto deep. It is the voice of God saying, come higher, go further. Trust more. Each time you say yes to Him, each time you silence fear and obey His direction, you ascend toward a destiny written for you before the foundations of the earth. It is not arrogance to believe you were made for more. It is faith. And faith is what moves the heart of God. As you walk in true obedience, you will begin to notice that the things which once satisfied you lose their grip. People's opinions hold less weight. The distractions of the world fade in appeal.